Hi, good day, guys. I'm Susan Pierce, a naturopathic life coach, coming to you with Eden's Living TV, all things naturopathic. We have one of my fixtures. You're my naturopathic go-to. You're the naturopathic on call for Eden's Living TV. Dr. Delane Graytop, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me again. I love to be here, as you know.
And you are a wealth of information. And today we're going to talk about gut health. Gut health is everything.
It is.
I hear you say that all the time. Your gut is
the key to all health. That is pretty much my mantra.
Why is your gut the key to everything in health?
Because this is the thing. Your body needs nutrients, right? To function. If you don't eat, if you don't drink water, you will die. So that is the most important source of getting your nutrients, is the health of your gut. Right. If your gut is not healthy, you don't get your nutrients.
You can take all the nutrient supplements you want, but if you can't break down, that bioavailability we talk about, what is available to the body.
Correct.
So a lot of people are just wasting their money doing their supplements and herbs, and if you're not able to process it, you're really wasting your money.
Absolutely.
That's why naturopath doctors are so important, or a naturopath life coach like me. They can take you by the hand and look for the nutrition. So when people come in and I say leaky gut, leaky brain.
Yes, absolutely.
There is a correlation. Would you like to talk about that correlation?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about leaky gut for those people who don't know what that means. What is a leaky gut? So basically, there's a whole host of symptoms and things that can happen that have nothing to do with digestion. You could have headaches, you could have sweats, you could get pimples, you cocould have backaches, and that could all be because your body has become sensitive to a food. And so what we check for naturopathically is we do a blood test, and we test for a sensitivity to food. There are 4 immunoglobulins.
So food allergies is what you're saying. If you have a sensitivity,
yes. So there's no, not actually the same. Good question. Actually, there is the anaphylactic that we all know, the peanut allergy. Yes.
I can't breathe.
Right. So that is a certain immunoglobulin reaction. That is the one that creates anaphylaxis. That is an allergy, a true allergy. We also have an immunoglobulin, IgG, which is in the bloodstream. And that comes to attack things that the blood thinks is a toxic thing. So if you get a toxin in your body, that will come and attack it. And that's what we're looking for. So when we do a food sensitivity test, we actually test, is your blood attacking the food that is coming out of your digestive system and into your bloodstream? Does it think it's a nutrient, or does it think it's a toxin? And when it thinks it's a toxin, that's when you have a food sensitivity.
Okay.
That is your own body attacking it. It's not going to cause an anaphylactic shock, but it might cause a runny nose, it might cause a stomach ache, it might cause a headache, and it might cause a headache 2 days later, because it might take that long for you to process it, for it to get into your bloodstream. So you could have, let's say you have a food sensitivity to apples, not common, but if you have leaky gut, whatever you're eating the most of, you usually are sensitive to at that point. And so again, if I were to go back to leaky gut, basically what happens with that is your intestines have these cells, they're called microvilli.
Tight junctions.
They're all and they have tight junctions, and they look like this, and they're like this. And so basically the nutrient comes in and it says, "Hi, I'm calcium. Can I please go through to the bloodstream?" And the microvilli has a channel that will open, and it will allow it to go through to the bloodstream. Now, when you have leaky gut, these are inflamed, and they kind of open up like this.
Spread apart.
And now there's no gate. There's no gatekeeper. There's no nothing. And so here comes whatever nutrient or whatever it is, and a lot of times it's undigested.
Right through, doesn't it?
Goes right through into the blood, and the blood goes, "Hey, I don't know what this is. I'm going to attack it, because I don't know what just happened."
So your body's really attacking itself.
It's attacking the nutrients. And something that could be extremely healthy for you, say a celery stick, if you have leaky gut and it's going through without the gatekeepers and through the gaps that are open, it's going to cause an immune system reaction.
That's where the gas and the bloating, I tell my clients, if you're eating foods and you start getting really gaseous and bloating, it's a really good indication that you might have a food sensitivity. You need to listen to your body.
You know, and my food sensitivities didn't even have digestive. Mine, I have a sensitivity to eggs. It causes my joints to swell, and my rings won't fit.
Well, dairy creates mucus, which creates pain. A lot of people don't know that.
Dairy causes me to sneeze for 3 days.
And cheese clogs you up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the things that you wouldn't necessarily think have digestively related could be caused by a food sensitivity. Your headaches, your seasonal allergies,
Right.
things like that, could be caused by
How
food
about hormones?
sensitivity.
Could it throw your hormones off?
Well, what happens is when you have leaky gut for long periods of time, one of the first organs that goes or starts showing signs of dysfunction is the thyroid.
Wow.
That is a very common. I see
All you
Hashimoto's.
hypo and hyper and Hashimoto's people, listen up. She's
Absolutely,
trying to tell
it
you
is.
a really key component
It is.
in getting to the root cause. A lot of doctors are not going to
Yeah.
ask you what you're eating and run a food sensitivity
No,
test.
and they're not. And so what we do is we run a food sensitivity test. Some of them have up to 400 foods, depending
Is that
on.
blood work? Is that a
it's
blood test?
work.
Okay.
Mhm. And so they're looking for the IgG to be attacking. And if you have over 10 reactions, 10 to 15, that's a sign that you have leaky gut. Because most people are truly sensitive to about 3 to 5 once you've healed the leaky gut and things like that. Most people have a few food sensitivities.
How do you heal a leaky gut?
So that's a good question. It's a multifaceted approach, and it's not a quick fix. You have to remove the things that are aggravating your body right now.
Inflammatory foods.
That's right. The ones that are the highest reaction, you remove for the
Right.
longest. Lowest reaction, 2 months. So you start off with a 2-month removal of the lowest. You remove
Like
all.
a 30, 60, 90 plan? Is that
A
what
little
that
bit,
is?
a little bit. It goes all the way till 6 months, but you want to basically allow your blood to stop recognizing that as a toxin. You want to take it out, and you use other foods that the blood is not currently attacking because it doesn't get fixed right in the first
it's not
day.
an easy fix.
It
I mean,
is-
it's like 3 to 6 months, just like
Absolutely.
your hormones. People come in to work with me, and they're like, oh, my hormones are off. I'm like, well, you're going to have to give me 6 to 8 months. This is no easy fix.
Because you need to build into it. And
Right.
so one of the things, there's a couple things that I use to just heal the microvilli, heal the cells. I love L-glutamine, which you may be.
L-glutamine rocks.
Yes, it's an amino acid, and you may be familiar with it from
Great
the
for
bodybuilding world. Yes.
You got to have amino acids. If you're bodybuilding, not taking enough protein and amino acids, you're never going to build. You're not going to get your muscles.
True. Now, but we don't use L-glutamine to build muscle. In this case,
Right.
we actually take it away from all protein, so it does not go to the muscle. We take it by itself, and we let it go into the intestines by itself, so it will help bring those junctions back together, and it will help heal the gut lining.
Do you ever use the bone broth or collagen? I use a lot of bone broth
Absolutely.
in my clients.
Bone broth. I love bone broth and collagen. That's just great nutrient value in general. It is going to give you peptides and building blocks. But the things that heal, L-glutamine, slippery elm will heal, aloe vera will heal.
Aloe vera's great. I used to do this little, like a 1 ounce shot. I would do, because you're healing, think about it, if it helps burns
Yep.
and your body's inflamed, why not internally take the aloe vera juice, either a shot of it or put it in your smoothies?
Yes.
I put it in smoothies. A lot of times I'll just get a plant and then peel out, and then they're great little snacks too. Believe it or not, aloe vera is really tasty. People don't realize that. They think
Some
it's
people
just
don't
for
like
burns.
the taste, but no, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can absolutely ingest it. It does heal. And then another thing we do is we support the digestion by adding digestive enzymes to help
I was going to ask you about
break
that.
up
Yeah.
the current food, because you're still going to have a little bit of leaky gut right in the
Right,
beginning.
right.
And you don't want things to go through whole so the body has
So
more
do you do
stuff to attack.
enzymes, pre-probiotics, and then what's the difference between probiotics and pre-probiotics and enzymes for our audience? I know it because I'm a life coach.
Right,
but-
of course, of course. So digestive enzymes would be, there's a couple types. There's the one that has hydrochloric acid, which is what your stomach naturally produces to help break down proteins and break down foods.
Right.
A lot of people are low in hydrochloric
Get
acid.
off the proton pump inhibitors.
Please get off the proton
Please
pump.
get off the proton pump.
Antacids,
and
please.
acids are not working.
Not
you
helping.
need acid to help you.
You know, this is a
Digest.
misnomer. One of the reasons I went to naturopathic medical school was because I had heartburn so bad that they wanted to do a surgery to retard the flap of my
Oh
stomach.
my gosh, that is
So
extreme.
it wouldn't go up.
Don't change what you eat. Let's anatomically change
I
your
literally
body.
said, is there
Really?
something I can do to stop eating?
Naturally.
I stopped eating acidic
Peppermint oil.
foods or things like
Peppermint oil
that.
in your midline is great to support the body.
So I wanted, so they were like, no, you can't change your food. It's not going to be food. You can, we're going to retard that flap. We're going to burn the nerve. And
Wow.
I said,
Cauterize your nerve.
you know, I'm not going to
Isn't
go
there a purpose
in.
of that nerve that God created it?
One would think
one
that
would think you would need your
God created the body basically with
perfectly.
the things that you need to do.
Right.
So here's the funny thing about that flap. If you have, only thing that can handle acid is the stomach. So your stomach naturally produces an amount of acid, and those flaps close.
Right.
Because
Esophageal flap.
the esophageal flap and the one that goes to the
sphincter.
small intestine.
Yeah, you have a sphincter.
They both close
Right.
because of the acid. And so it doesn't go up into your esophagus and burn it. So it doesn't go into your
So if they
intestines and burn
cauterize
it.
that flap, you wouldn't have any control over.
No gag. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and that was their idea.
What was their solution?
There was a solution. So the funny story is that people get heartburn because the flap isn't closing.
Right.
Right. Well, the flap doesn't close unless you have enough acid. So we are taking antacids,
Antacids
to
and chewing
reduce
them,
the amount
and
of
calcium
acid.
that we can't. Those antacid chews with calcium. You can't break them down. It's not even available to the
You
body.
also can't. Yes, you can't absorb the calcium.
can't absorb it.
With no acid.
Right.
Oddly enough.
Right.
So it's kind of a silly thing.
That's true too.
So what I'm basically saying is we are doing the opposite. America does the opposite of what should be done. Instead of creating more acid to force that flap to close,
right.
so you're not getting the acid to come back up
You're
and getting
vomiting,
that's
reflux in the
that's
middle of the
right.
night. I got so bad I had to put my headboard up on cinder blocks.
A lot of
to
people
alleviate that esophageal. You can do that. Put your headboard up to get that esophagus where it's not laying flat. And you're
or
not
you could actually just have
regurgitating on
enough
acid.
acid to close the flap.
Yeah.
So
How do you
basically,
make sure you have enough acid?
you add the digestive enzymes, because so many of us have taken antacids for that we have lowered our body's ability to produce the amount of
what it
acid we
needs.
actually need. So what we do is we add that acid back in, and it actually will stop the heartburn because the flap will close and it won't be flapping open with not enough acid, because when your stomach moves and it doesn't have enough acid,
Right.
it's not sealed.
Right.
So we basically do the opposite of what we should be doing. We take away the acid
It's
when we should
absolutely
be.
It's crazy if you
adding
think about
the acid,
allopathic medicine and the way that it really doesn't. It doesn't truly heal the body.
No, it definitely
it
does
doesn't
not
heal
heal.
the body. It manages it.
That's correct. So
Steers
then,
you in an unnatural pathway. A
well,
natural way.
it causes more, like an antacid, for example, if you have low acid and you're continuing to take Zantac or whatever it is you're taking an antacid,
Flavor of the month.
right? And you're not digesting your proteins, right?
Right.
So now you're not breaking down your proteins,
And
but
now
you're
my
getting all
muscles
your
are getting-
carbohydrates. You're getting all your carbohydrates.
Right.
And I had a patient that had been on antacids for 20 years, not a high sugar eater, not a high carbohydrate eater, mostly meat and vegetables, but on antacids. So therefore, he digested all of his carbs and
Wow.
came up pre-diabetic.
Wow.
Does not eat sweets, does not eat desserts, does not have diabetes in his family. And I finally got back to the reason
the root cause.
the root cause is that you have not been able to break down your proteins for 20 years. You've been basically
Unbelievable.
digesting carbohydrates,
Just running on the sugar. running on
basically,
the
and
carbohydrates.
causing his.
It's almost as bad as the cholesterol drug scam. You actually need cholesterol to provide the fuel that you need for your body to
do.
function.
You do.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
why I go to a naturopathic doctor and get this information.
That's correct.
Yes.
So back to the leaky gut. We take the digestive enzymes. We help the body digest the new food that they're introducing. So hopefully, when it does go through those little gap junctions, it's broken down enough for the blood to recognize it as a nutrient
And not
so
attack
that-
it.
Exactly. And then most people have a bad microbiome. Obviously, you know what that is, but just to say for the audience, that would be the gut health. There's living bugs in the gut.
Right.
And we like to have a nice population
flora.
of flora in the gut.
Yes.
We like to have so many of this one, so many of this one, so many of this one, and we like to have a nice little colony. And most of us have taken antibiotics or
antibiotics wipe the gut. The
Absolutely.
good flora and the bad flora.
all of it. And so that's why yeast infections are so common after antibiotics, because yeast occurs naturally, and yeast is a fungus. So we take an antibiotic and it kills all the probiotics,
And the fungus takes over.
and the fungus takes over.
Yeah,
So
sugar and yeast issues. I've had more clients that really had a candida problem.
candida is prevalent.
I used to
very
have like
prevalent.
this white, dry skin layer on my bottom of my feet. Never knew that with the white on my tongue
Absolutely.
was a yeast problem.
Yes,
Never
always.
had any idea, even pharmaceutically trained, about how important your gut health is. No one ever trains me on
And
that.
the simplest thing of your primary care giving you an antibiotic and saying you should take a probiotic.
Lactobacillus with it. Yeah.
On
I want
the
a
other,
yeast
not
pill.
with it, but
Yeah.
8 hours away from it. to rebuild, so you have the good.
And I actually like,
guts.
instead of antibiotics, I do colloidal silver, fire cider. I go after like astragalus or
there's
natural alternatives, guys.
of-
You don't have to wipe your gut flora. And some of these, like the Z-Packs and some of these quinolones, there's black box warnings in some of these antibiotics.
Quinolones cause, when we were talking
all kind of problems.
epigenetics in the other episode, we were talking about epigenetics, but there are many people who cannot even
People lost their ability to walk taking an antibiotic.
from quinolones, yes.
From quinolones.
Toxicity, absolutely.
It's toxicity, and you're killing your liver on top of it.
So you want to create a biome that is a microbiome that is good flora.
So how do we
helps
do
your
that?
immune system. It's kind of a building. You want to start out. I generally start out with the highest amount, maybe 100 billion.
Me too.
Where I start out, and I'll do that for a month, and
Good
then I'll add in.
probiotic, multi-strands. How many strands of different active live cultures?
Correct.
You want?
There's many different strands. I start out with. I love a couple. There's a couple really reputable companies that I use, and I will start out with. One with mostly lactobacillus and the bifidobacteria, and then you add in plantarum and the other, and you build on it. You build on it. So you start out with the ones you need the most of, and then you build, because really they have to propagate. They have to. They're alive. They have to create their colonies. And basically, like the yeast, if I always explain it because I'm from the East Coast, obviously, I explain it like New York City. Well, here's little Italy, and here's little China, and here's, this is the Upper West Side. And if little Italy starts merging into little China, we got to push it back. But they have to create families, and they have to buy the houses, and they have to, and it takes time to create a neighborhood, and that is kind of what's happening in your large intestine.
If your gut flora gets off, you're going to have autoimmune issues. You're going to have depression, mood issues.
Definitely.
Hormonal imbalances. A lot of things. It just really is sad. All these people going to psychologists and psychiatrists,
absolutely,
needing mood stabilizers when in essence they're magnesium deficient. That's why they're depressed, or they're vitamin D deficient, not getting enough sun. But even if you don't know to take vitamin K7 with vitamin D, the vitamin D
K2.
can't break down to be bioavailable, available to the body. So all these factors, that's why you need a life coach or a naturopathic or integrative or functional medicine doctor. They're going to look at your gut. They're going to see what problems you have.
I start with the gut, honestly.
The gut.
I start with the gut. I obviously look for any virus or, any viral things happening or anything that you might have to kill. Basically, a fungal or a viral or something.
Lyme
yes,
exposed.
you look for that. But if there's nothing to kill, then you need to start making sure the gut health is good, because after you get the gut health good, then you can add the nutrients that the person needs, and they can absorb them.
And how do you figure what nutrients they need? Is there a test or a hair analysis that you can do?
There are several tests. There's a lot of times blood test is not a good measure, honestly, of nutrients. It can measure a few things. It can measure a vitamin D. We do a combination of blood, urine, and saliva, all in one test.
To get the big picture.
Because you really want to know body stores. When you're looking at the blood, you think blood is only what is happening right at that moment.
Right.
And it's right when they're catching the blood.
They exchange it.
And maybe your magnesium's in your leg. Maybe, or maybe it's being stored in your tissues and you don't know. So there's a couple things that you can tell. We do B12, we do vitamin D in the blood, but if I want a big picture of health, there are much more comprehensive tests. Unfortunately, insurance has not jumped on board for a lot of these testings, but they are imperative, really.
They're so key. I mean,
They're
why
really
not outlay
imperative.
like functional medicine doctor and naturopathy? I pay out of pocket. But I want to go to the root cause, and I want to see, well, what if I have a DNA snippet that's mutated? What if I have a leaky gut? Why am I having migraines? Is it the food sensitivities I'm eating? Is it not enough hydration? A lot of headaches is just minimal dehydration.
Absolutely.
Instead of popping your Xanax or your Tylenol to chill out and then deal with your headache, or you go out and you drink alcohol, which alcohol converts to sugar. Sugar oxidizes the body, creates wrinkles, starts tearing down body, and it's addictive. Sugar's 8 times more addictive than crack cocaine. It changes your brain.
White sugar is...
It's of the devil.
It is.
It's crack as whack. It's of the devil.
It is. I used to say just stay away from everything white. White sugar, white rice, white flour.
That's pretty much like your processed flour,
Yeah.
your processed salt. You're not getting your trace minerals.
Absolutely.
And we're not getting enough. We're not like baby cows. We don't need milk. Milk creates mucus in the body.
We're not trying to be 2,000-pound animals.
We're not trying to be a cow.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Maybe a sexy machine, but no cow.
Honestly, if you're going to try to have a milk product, goat and sheep milks
What do you
have
feel
a
about
much
the raw? Do you do the
smaller
raw
protein.
goat? Is that what you recommend for the
I
goat?
did when I lived on an organic farm in California and knew where the goat was and coming
what they
from.
fed it.
Yes, correct. But goat and sheep protein, actually, the whey and casein of the milk is a much smaller protein and much easier for the human body to digest. Yes. So.
Or you can substitute, instead of doing your milk products, you can do like an almond milk,
cashew milk,
macadamia milk, tiger milk. I never knew all these milks. I just thought milk was milk. No, milk is not milk. And I do a lot of, like, with my clients also, I do the bone broth, I do the aloe vera, I do the collagen. But I also make sure they get like healthy yogurts to try to incorporate. Fermented foods is another great way. Let's talk about fermented foods.
That's a prebiotic. So a lot of times people have noticed probiotics were all the rage, and then people weren't being able to replenish their microbiome. And what was happening is they weren't doing what we call a prebiotic, fermented foods, things like that. Things with cellulose in them, things that are fermented, that they help the bugs stay in the colon. They help them get reestablished. It's basically like a helper. You want a prebiotic, you want a probiotic, because you want to help the body keep the bugs it needs. And it's very hard to do.
How do you know when to do digestive enzymes and the
So two different things.
Like, how do you know?
Digestive enzymes are strictly going to go into your stomach and help you break down food.
Right.
So you do that when you eat. Right before you eat, digestive enzyme. Or if you're struggling with type 2 diabetes, I add pancreatic enzymes. So helps break down fats and bile and things like that. So you do the enzymes when you eat.
Okay.
Probiotics, you can do in the morning, you can do at night. Doesn't have to be when you eat. Or if you want to eat it with a fermented food, that's even better, because that will help it stay in the body even longer. But digestive enzymes are strictly, think of it as like an acute problem. You're using that with food. You want the digestive enzyme to help break down the food.
And then you need to get the food sensitivity test to see if you're reacting.
That's correct. And the reason I really advocate testing and not food elimination is that, one, it's very hard to isolate the food that's causing a problem, because what if it just causes itching on your foot and you just think, maybe my foot just itches.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with my stomach.
Correct.
But it's all of your skin, in essence, tells you that, like, your tongue in your skin is a great indicator of your health. Ancient Chinese medicine, they do a lot with the face and the tongue.
Yep,
if you've got that white patch, if you stick your tongue
analysis.
out, you've got some major candida issues. White, scaly skin on the bottom of your feet, itching
between the toes,
itching and private areas. People are like, I itch. I took off the sugar. I'm doing all this. They're not hitting the candida.
No, because you have to kill it, and you have to take a binder to get it out of your system.
So what is the best way to kill the candida?
Well, there's herbal ways to do it. Obviously, caprylic acid, oregano oil, wormwood. You do a combination. Fungus, they're smart.
They're very resilient.
Really smart. And unfortunately, for people with prevalent candida issues, they have to remove the thing that feeds the yeast for at least 2 months.
People don't want to give up their sugar or their candy bar or their coffee with creamer and tons of sugar, or their sweet tea in the South. Since you're down here in the South from New York, you got to have iced tea with sugar, baby.
I learned that.
It's a Southern thing.
I did learn that when my brother played hockey for Georgia. They had a host family, and she said, "Do you want some sweet tea?" And I was like,
"What is sweet tea?"
I just looked at my brother.
Ice in it. Y'all don't have ice up in New York. Well, y'all are so weird in New York. I love you, New York, but you're different.
We don't know what sweet tea is.
No, don't know what grits are either.
No.
Speaking of grains and grits, let's talk about grains. Let's talk
Yes.
about the sensitivities of what we can do with the Roundup and the gluten. So take it away.
Oh, yes, gluten, such a sensitive topic. I do think there's a lot of more gluten sensitivity than there used to be.
That's basically Roundup, too, that they're spraying on our wheat.
And do we know? That's correct, because I have people who are gluten sensitive in America that will import some flour from Italy and make their bread, and they are not sensitive.
Right.
So are they sensitive to the pesticides, or are they sensitive to
the gluten itself.
That's
and
right.
didn't they take out the wheat germ part of the gluten and then put the gluten part back in? It's wheat germ that they've replaced that holds everything together.
They basically they bleach everything out.
Yeah,
first of all.
bleach. Take all your nutrition.
Yes.
Everything
so there's no
else.
nutrient value in the white bread or any of the white.
Yeah, I don't
things like
do
that.
much breads at all. I don't do pastas. I do rice pasta.
Yeah.
I'm very careful because I have a major gluten sensitivity.
Gluten is interesting. It's gluten and casein seem to be the proteins that cause the most problems, especially psychologically. They're
Yes.
very key in autism
Who would have
to
thought that
remove.
foods create mood disorders?
You know, they do call the gut the second brain.
It is the second brain.
And the reason they call it that is because, you know, when people have food addictions or things like that, where they're craving, like, oh, I need to have a bowl of ice cream. Well, you're not going for the nutrient value.
No.
The bowl of ice cream is raising your serotonin through the roof.
Because
so
it's
you have
like
all
a
the
drug. It's that
happy
sugar.
chemicals coming
Yeah.
through, the dopamine
Right.
and the serotonin. And I feel so good and happy. And it's basically a chemical reaction. So 80% of your serotonin is made in the gut.
In the gut.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so when you're craving sugar and you're craving these high glycemic
you really might need
things,
protein and magnesium.
you absolutely do.
Protein, if you have the craving
absolutely
sugar,
do.
go eat you some protein. Your body's craving it.
You're not going to get all the happy chemicals that you
No.
would get eating a bowl of ice
And
cream.
food addiction
However,
is real.
absolutely.
You take someone detoxing, coming off chemicals, and they become nasty for about 3 days.
Do you
Headaches,
know
joint pain.
there is a receptor called the dopamine 2 receptor, and that receptor hits heroin, cocaine, caffeine, sugar,
The sex.
sex, gambling,
Yeah,
shopping,
it's all there.
all of those.
That's amazing. Well, I think that we have covered a lot today, and I
Yes.
want a takeaway. Guys, your gut is your immune system. If you have autoimmune or cancers and you're not finding out your food sensitivities, you're not really addressing the health of your gut, you're not looking at the food that you're putting into your gut,
Absolutely.
seeing if you can absorb it. Tell them real quickly where they can find you in your website.
My website's integrativemedicalconsulting.com, and I would just take away, get a food sensitivity
Get a
test.
food
Do not do
sensitivity
the
test.
elimination. Really get the information so you know what you're looking at and how to do it.
And Dr. Delane on Facebook, you can also,
Dr.
and your
Delane.
Doc of Beauty.
Doc Body Beauty on
yes,
Instagram for body
Instagram.
positivity, health at any size.
All right. Well,
Always.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Great to be here
coming.
as always.
And we love to have you here. You're welcome
I love
here
to be
anytime.
here.
Thank you, Dr. Greatop. Y'all have a blessed day.